saying that you have
slides.
started. Not visible, sir.
I have started to share my screen itself. From the top of the screen, there I got the option the screen. Yeah. Is it visible now?
Not yet, sir.
Here it is showing I am sharing my PowerPoint. Here something is popping
Yes,
up
but I
saying
think
that
you
I
need
am
to
sharing
minimize
my
this window
PowerPoint.
and then open your PPT separately. It will appear automatically. I think there is some network problem also. Your video is disappearing.
Is it okay?
No, it's not appearing, sir. Not yet. Sabullah, sir, please, can you help him in doing that? Yeah, now appeared, sir.
I'm now sharing my whole screen has appeared.
Yes, it has.
Okay,
Again, it
for the delay.
disappeared.
Thank you, organizers, for making
Again,
me
it
the
got
part of this.
disappeared, sir. Sorry to interrupt, but
Is it okay now?
no, sir. I think you need to keep your PPT open. I think you have minimized.
No, my PPT in full screen mode.
But it
Is
is
it now
not.
okay?
No, not visible, sir. Can you please? Yeah, now it is visible. It is visible, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now I think it is. My whole screen is visible, I hope. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Sorry for the delay. I again thank the organizers for making me the part of this grand event. Today, the topic of talk is role of Ayurveda in COVID-19. Myself, I'm Dr. Sanjay Pokhrel. I'm professor and dean in the Institute of Ayurveda, Nepal Sanskrit University, Beljundi Dang, Nepal. Hello.
Yes, sir, you continue. We can hear.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible. You can continue, sir.
First of all, greetings from the land of Himalaya. Now I think my screen is still visible, right?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay. So when I do full screen mode, then I'm not able to change the slide. I don't know what is the reason behind. When I'm going screen, so in today's talk, I'll be concentrating on few of the points: the introduction of Ayurveda and immunity and its Ayurvedic concept, or let's say Ayurvedic understanding of immunity. Then COVID-19 in very brief, because we know much details nowadays. Role of Ayurveda in COVID-19, mainly more emphasis on preventive aspect, management and the treatment protocol, and finally the lifestyle and counseling part. Then I'll come up with a conclusion. So are my slides visible, sir?
It is visible, sir.
So let's start with the very basics. What is Ayurveda? The word Ayurveda is made up of two words, Ayu and the Veda. Literal meaning of word Ayu is life, and the Veda is knowledge. So Ayurveda is the science of life, or let's say knowledge of. As we all believe that Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages present in the universe, similarly, Ayurveda is the oldest medicinal knowledge which is existing in the universe. But when we talk Ayurveda as a medical science, it is not only a medical science, it is a way of life. It is the way that teaches how to lead a daily life. It is an ancient lifestyle, or we prefer to say the Himalayan lifestyle. Now let us talk in very brief about what is so unique about Ayurveda. It is different than other medical science. Normally, almost all the medical sciences that are existing mainly deals about treatment of the disease, or they talk about diagnosis of the disease and healing that particular disease or treating the disease. Uniqueness of Ayurveda is the Ayurveda aim is swastha se swastham atura se vikara pramanam cha, which means it mainly focuses on prevention of health, and if at all, if any diseases or if any problem occurs, at that time, what are the methods for the treatment? So the prime focus is prevention, and as we all, prevention is always better than cure. So here comes the importance of Ayurveda. But it does not only mean that we are only preventive. Whenever needed, whenever required, we have treatment protocol in the form of medicines, which we say the samana ausadi, or we give the specific medicines inside the body, or we have the purificatory methods or the sodhana techniques by which we eliminate the toxins or the accumulated things from the body. We'll deal in detail afterwards. And mainly the medical science is more about and the medicines, but Ayurveda, more than focusing emphasis on the medicines, Ayurveda has more impact. What you eat, how you eat, what activities you do, what is your lifestyle, those all things are very primary. Then only comes the medicinal part. And one more unique, Ayurveda has given utmost importance for the mental body, the mind. Most of the medical sciences primarily focuses on the anatomical or the physical body than the mental body, but Ayurveda has major focus on mental body also. And Ayurveda is unique in the way that it was written some 4 to 5,000 years back, but the masters were so clever that they have systematically divided the whole Ayurvedic science into different branches, very well formed branches, and different physicians or the doctors of different branches were. And now, if we compare Ayurveda with other system of medicines, others, mainly the modern medical system is an experimental system, or let's say the modern medical science is an experimental science, but Ayurveda is mainly experiential science. Generally, everything in the modern medical science depends upon the average or the statistical values which are derived from the mass. But Ayurveda does not only rely on the statistical values or does not only rely on the average values. It mainly relies on the individuality. The uniqueness of Ayurveda is it depends upon the individual identity. It focuses on the individuality. For the lighter note, there are few from some of the famous personalities. They say if your experiment needs a statistician, you need a better experiment. There are three types of the lies, damn lies, and statistics. Saying that statistics are wrong, but what I'm trying to highlight is there is something beyond the statistics also. Another theory, when we are talking about Ayurveda, there are many basic principles which we must know for understanding the Ayurveda. One of the key principle of Ayurveda is the Panchabhuta theory, where Ayurveda believes that Sarvam Dravyam Panchabhautikam. Each and every elements which are present in the universe, either they are living or non-living, everything is the combination of the main 5 elements, that is Prithvi, Jal, Teja, Vayu and Akash. And what we believe is the different proportion of combination of basic 5 elements represents each and every individual in the universe. When we are talking about Panchamahabhuta, we do not blindly say that combination of earth, water, fire, air, and this makes the human body. Or if you somebody ask me, if we give this earth, water, fire, air, and the space, can you combine this and produce a human body out of it? No. The Ayurveda have not explained in this context. The Ayurveda is explaining this particular theory in the way that the basic qualities, properties of these 5 elements like earth, water, fire, the basic qualities, the similar qualities are present in the human body also. We are representing the similar types of the quality in the human body, and like qualities what we supply from outside, the like quality increases the particular Mahabhuta in the body, and the unlike or the opposite quality decreases the Mahabhuta in the body. For example, earth has the basic property of heaviness, bulkiness, mass, moisture, binding, cold, stable, etc. Similarly, water has the fluid nature, mobile nature, cold binding. Fire has it is a source of heat, light, energy, transformation, and it is a symbol of metabolism inside the human body. Air has it is not only it does not stay at one place, it is highly mobile, it moves from one place to another, and it is basically dry in nature, it is cold in touch. So these are like empty spaces where there is nothing, or where something can be moved into, or something can be into. So after understanding these basic principles, depending upon this Panchamahabhuta theory, Ayurveda talks about the body types or the prakriti of the individual. By the combination of these 5 elements, we classify all the human individuals into 3 major categories, that is Vata, Pitta and the Kapha types of the body, and we call it as prakriti, or the nature of that particular individual. Now, how do we assess what prakriti the individual is? The criteria of assessment: by assessing the physical body, the mental. There are various questionnaires prepared. There are many points to be observed. I'm keeping it brief because we have limited time. We assess the physical body, we assess the mental body of the individual, the digestive capacity of the individual, the evacuation, the pulse rate, etc. And by observing the individual, how they talk, how they walk, how they react to the different questions, we interrogate them. We have prepared we have the questionnaires prepared for the individuals, and they have to fill that particular questionnaires. Then we come up with a conclusion that okay, this particular individual, either Vata, Pitta or the Kapha type of the Prakriti. And what is the benefit of knowing this Prakriti is, in Ayurveda, I've already stated that Ayurveda highlights on the individuality of the individual. After knowing the Prakriti, then we can treatment of the individual to the Prakriti or the type of body. We plan the diet, we plan the style accordingly. For example, if a person is a Vata dominant person, we do not ask them for vigorous exercise, we do not ask them for too much of running or too much of sporty type of the exercise. We just give them the gentle exercise like basic yoga practices, a few brisk walking things and other. But if in the same condition, if the individual is of Kapha Prakriti, ask them to be more vigorous, ask them to lose more and more energy at a time. If it is Pitta, in a milder way. So everything, the food, lifestyle, exercise, everything depends upon this type of the Prakriti. So this was in brief about Ayurveda. Now let us go into the immunity. Immunity, as we all know, that it is the defense mechanism or the defense system of our body. The immunity identifies the foreign substances and they fight them. Our health is where our body parts are immunologically and the immunity, if the immune cells in the body, if they react foreign substances and they do not react with our self substances, that is the state of good immunity. And disease is when our immune cells are not able to cope up or not able to fully fight against the invaders, or sometimes even some autoimmune diseases, the immune our one self as the foreign substance also. So the main role of immunity in our human body is played by WBC, white blood cells, and they are various parts of the body like thymus, spleen, bone marrow, lymph nodes, etc. And there are these are the two main classifications of WBC, phagocytes and the lymphocytes. Basically, some of these category A phagocytes, they engulfs the external organism. Lymphocytes B and of the lymphocytes are main immune cells. When we are talking immunity, the whole defense mechanism of the immunity is divided into two major categories, that is adaptive immunity and the innate. Innate is by birth, and the adaptive immunity, we adapt ourselves either naturally or artificially. The natural immunity is from the by birth we get the immune system from the mother, or if we are infected with a disease, that particular antigens, against that antigens our body produces antibodies, so that in future if that same type of the disease or the same type of the organism or the invader attacks, then our will be already resistant. So artificially we do immunization, we do antibody transfer, like we are talking about plasma transfer and other things nowadays. So these are basic things about immunity. Now let us move in proper the concept of immunity in Ayurveda. The defense of the body, or let's say the immunity, the disease resisting power of the body, in Ayurveda we say it totally depends upon the ojas or the Vedic Kshamatva Bala, we call it in Sanskrit, or the ojas. The ojas is the essence of all the tissues or the sapta dhatus in the body. We have 7 dhatus: rasa, rakta, mamsa, meda, asti, majja and shukra. If all these dhatus in good health condition, the essence of these dhatus or the healthier dhatus represents the healthy stage of ojas in our body. Apart from providing the strength to the body, physical and the mental activities, the main function of the ojas in human body is to provide the Vedic Kshamatva Bala. Then what is this Vedic Kshamatva Bala? Vedic Kshamatva naam Vyadi Bala Virodhikatvam Vyadi Utpadaka Hetu Pratibandhakatva. It is that the power of the body to suppress the power of the disease, or the power of the body to eliminate the cause of the disease, is called Vedic Kshamatva Bala in Ayurveda. So Vedic Kshamatva, which is explained in Ayurveda, is exactly similar to that of the explanation of immune system in the modern medical science. When we talk about the ojas, in very brief we will discuss about ojas, what it is. It is believed in Ayurveda that it is the first thing which is being transferred from to the fetus in the mother's womb. Prathamam jayate hi ojah sarire saririnam. All the individual will get oja at the very first, before the birth itself. And rasadinam sukrantanam dhatunam yat param tejas tat khalo ojas tadeva balam ityuchyate Shastra Siddhantat. Acharya clearly explains that from the to the Shukra, all the 7 dhatus, it is the essence of all the 7 dhatus, and it is the bala or physical or the mental strength of the body. So what are the functions of the ojas? For the normal healthy functioning of the body, ojas is very much essential. If there is no ojas present in the body or less ojas present in the body, one can survive or one will be diseased. This is explained in Ayurvedic classics. Again explain, prakirtastu balam slesma bikrito malam uchyate sachaiva ojo smrtakaye sacha papmopadishyate. In the normal condition, ojo is the kapha itself, and if it is vitiated or if it is in a unhealthy condition, then it causes the diseases. The bala or the ojas in Ayurveda is classified into Sahaja, Kalaja, and the Yuktikrit. Sahaja by itself, Kalaja as developmental stages, you will acquire so many immune things. Yuktikrit, like we provide immunization and other things, these all comes under Yuktikrit. So this was in brief ojas. Now, Ayurveda clearly explains न च सर्वाणि शरीराणि व्याधिक्षमत्य सामर्थ्यानि भवन्ति. All the human bodies or the individuals are not capable of, or they are not Vyadikshamato Bala, or Vyadikshamato Bala of the individual is not equal in all the individuals. Maybe less or it may be more depending upon their food, lifestyle, and their state of health. Why everybody having the same type of Vyadikshamato Bala? Because the Vyadikshamato or the immunity in Ayurveda, we believe it depends upon the amount of ojas present in the body. More the presence of ojas, more will be the immunity of the individual. And this ojas directly depends upon diet, physical activities, physical and the mental rest of the individual, stress levels, and many more. So if the individual indulges in the faulty diet, improper lifestyle, physical and the mental stresses, these all things causes the reduction of the ojas or the Vyadikshamato Bala in the individual. There are many other causes also, go in detail, but I will highlight the things explained. For the depletion or for the ojas in the body, the anger, the aggressive anger, hunger, stress, excessive exercise, excessive strain to the physical or the mental body, these all things are the causes for the depletion of the immunity power in the body. Vata kapha reduction in body, pitta accumulation, internal injuries, any loss of dhatus or improper tissue formation, anger, grief, sorrow, stress, over anxious, exertion, malnutrition, or excessive alcohol consumption, all these are the causative factors for the depletion of the ojas in the human body. So again explains human body is a ahara sambhava vastu. Like other medical science, Ayurveda shows a special focus on the food of the individual. We say that human body is ahara sambhava vastu, or it is the resultant of the human body is the resultant of what we eat. We are what we eat. We are what we think we say. Our mind is what we think, what we are, and is what we eat. All the dosha, dhatu, mala, agni, oja, everything directly depends upon the diet of the individual. So until and unless the individual practices the proper diet habit, one cannot have good immunity. So this was in brief about immunity in Ayurveda. Now let us come to the topic COVID. I'll not go into much detail. Nowadays we all are very much that what is coronavirus and what are the basic symptoms of COVID-19 disease and what are the preventive mode. According to the WHO, it is a disease caused by newly discovered coronavirus, that is the novel coronavirus. And I would like to highlight this particular point. The second point the bullet point. Most people infected with the COVID-19 virus will experience mild to moderate illness and recover without requiring special treatment. I again like draw your attention to these particular points. The WHO itself says that of the cases they show only mild or moderate respiratory illness and they will recover without having any special treatment. Too much of worry is not necessary, but we have to be more cautious, especially to the older people or the people who are having underlying medical problems like cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, respiratory diseases, cancer, or any other serious illness, or let's say those who have immunity. They are to be worried, but other people, if at all infected, of course we have to be very preventive, but if at all infected, majority of the people having a good immunity stage.
Sorry to interrupt
And
you, sir. Sorry to interrupt
hello.
you, sir. Will you please conclude in 2 or 3 minutes?
Okay,
Then we can take
I'll
some
do that.
questions, sir.
Okay, sure, I'll do that. So now I'll
Okay,
would you mind giving me 1 or 2 extra minutes, please? Because I'm at the end now. Now here comes the role of Ayurveda. When we are talking about the role of Ayurveda, I've already stated Ayurveda is more on the preventive aspect of the health. So in the or the prophylactic action, we in our day-to-day life or in our kitchen, we use many herbs or the spices. They are widely used in our kitchen, and if at all we get basic common cold or flu like symptoms, we have some household remedies. So these all things are based on the principles of Ayurveda, practicing since long, and these type of the things, Ayurveda has a very good role in the profile in the preventive aspect, and mainly the person with less immunity are more affected. Ayurveda is already proven that it has many more herbs which are already proven scientifically that it boosts the immunity. So use of such of the herbs regularly, if we do, then Ayurveda will definitely help in the prevention. Just for a simple example, regular use of chyawanprash or use of the turmeric milk, which is common nowadays, it is been known as golden milk, or by preparing the decoction, the kada or the tea out of guduchi, vasha, ginger, black pepper, turmeric, tulsi, etc. There are many more tips. If you want in detail, you can visit the Ayush website. They have very beautifully given so many tips so that you can improve your immunity. Just to highlight that Ayurveda has the definite role in improving the immunity of the individual. And if we follow the dinacharya, ritucharya, etc. of the Ayurveda, and if we practice the sodhana in Ayurveda, depending upon the ritu, the different types of the sodhana, Vaman, Virechana, Vasti, Nashya, Karma are explained. If we do this regularly, then definitely we will boost up our immunity. Here is a list of some herbs which are very well known for the immunity: Guduchi, Ashwagandha, Rasna, Eranda, Rasona, Hingu, Ajmoda, etc. And if the slides are visible, I have marked these slides in different colors. First set of drugs are especially for the Vata type of the personality, preferably the drugs with the red color, preferably for the Pitta type of the personality, and another with the blue, preferably for the Kapha type of the personality: Guduchi, Amala, Draksha, Jeti, Chandan, Ushir, Shunti, Lavanga, Pipali, Marich, etc. So for improving immunity, basically the dietary habit, regular physical exercises including yoga, pranayam, meditation, etc., the mental relaxation, proper sleep, and the regular use of the rasayana dravya and the ojavardhak dravyas, and following the Ayurvedic principles are the key tips for that. And if you need more, you can visit Ayush Gov ayush.gov.in, they have beautifully illustrated so many tips according to the print of Ayurveda. Now, in the treatment also, we have various herbs for the treatment also. We have different category of drugs like Shrotahara Drabya, Joragna Drabya. In Ayurveda has this categorized different herbs, especially for swasha, kasa, let's say cough and asthma type of the, for the respiratory disease. These are the list of herbs which can be used in the respiratory problems. These are the list of herbs which can be used in the cough and the condition. There are other herbs in Ayurveda which are good, known for their good properties, soothing,
Sorry to
soothing
interrupt you, sir.
properties.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Here some questions, sir. May I ask?
Okay, it's
Some
done. It's a last. I believe it's the last slide. So
Okay.
lifestyle according to the Ayurveda. If you follow the lifestyle according to the Ayurveda, these all things will help to improve the immunity. And if needed, we have treatment options also. The medicines which are used in fever, flu, cough, cold, asthma, all upper respiratory tract infection. The medicines which are used since thousands of, these medicines can be prescribed for the patient of COVID-19 so that they will be having a better recovery. And I would like to end this talk with a sloka which is explained by Acharya Charaka in the Sutra Sthana 18th chapter. He says that he was wise enough. He says that 5,000 years back, we cannot name all the disease, or I cannot. Acharya Charak says that I can list all the disease and their treatment methods in this particular book. There can be newer type of the diseases upcoming every now and then. The only thing what the physician needs to know is nahi sarva vikaranam namo asti dhruva sthiti. You cannot name all the diseases, but you can, by reading the symptoms, by knowing the signs and symptoms of the particular disease, the prakriti of the roga, the adhisthana of the roga, which system it is affecting, and what is the physiology of that. If you know that, then only basic principle of Ayurveda. If you apply the basic principle of Ayurveda, then the Ayurvedic physician can treat the disease. It has been Acharya Charaka. So this particular thing we can apply now also in the context of COVID also. So these are the conclusions. I will not read. I have already taken much time. Only thing is early preparedness and the emphasis on the prevention of the health is the only method to deal with the situations like COVID or new which may come in the future. So boosting our immunity is the only key factor. So with this, I would like to conclude the session, and sorry for taking the extra time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
There's one question I want to ask, sir. Is the Bhasma Aushadhis have any consequences regarding renal damage?
No,
Is there Bhasma?
we cannot generally Bhasma has the consequence damage or other tissue damage. We have to be wise enough to say that. Let's say a small example. If somebody asks, is eating fruit harmful for health, or is eating vegetable for health? No, it is never. But if loaded with pesticides, if loaded with chemicals, that fruit itself or the vegetable itself become hazardous for that particular individual. Similarly, the Bhasma Ausadi, if they are prepared, or if they are prepared principles of Ayurveda, there are very strenuous and very long explained in Ayurvedic classics for the purification of different metals and minerals. But the problem nowadays is there are companies in the market who are mainly commercial. They skip the method. They do not follow the traditional method of purification. And it is in this commercial era, everybody follows the shortcut method. And if the thing is not properly purified, if the Bhasma is not properly made, and if it is marketed, definitely it will damage kidney also. If it will do some other tissue damage, gastritis, other things are common. But I would repeat again, if it is prepared as per the explanation of Ayurvedic classics, there are no chances of tissue damage. Rather, it will help the kidney to function well. And there are multiple studies being published. So please go through that. So be assured that the medicine is prepared well. If it's a good manufacturing company, they are all safe. And it
Okay.
is, if a small scale manufacturer, and if it is more in a commercial way, definitely everything is going to act negatively.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Such a nice presentation. महात्मा गांधी काशी विद्यापीठ परिवार की ओर से और ऑर्गेनाइजिंग कमेटी की ओर से और हमारे ऑनरेबल वाइस चांसलर की ओर से मैं आपका हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं, आपको धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आपने अपना बहुमूल्य समय निकाला हम लोगों के साथ अपना प्रेजेंटेशन शेयर किया. थैंक यू वेरी मच सर.
Thank you, sir. I would like to thank all the managers for giving me this opportunity, and thank you on behalf of all the Ayurvedic doctors of Nepal. We are all thankful to you. Let us fight together and get rid of the COVID soon. Jai Ayurveda.
Okay, okay, sir. So now we have Dr. Indranil Vashure, MD, FACC, cardiologist and cardiac electrophysiologist, adjunct professor of public health, the University of Memphis, TN, USA, and visiting professor, AIIMS, Rishikesh. Today he will discuss about immunological change in COVID and the heart, role of yoga in prevention of infection and cytokine storm. So we welcome you, sir. So it's up to you, please. Sir, we are unable to hear you, sir.
You can't hear me? Okay. Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
sir. Yes,
Hello.
sir.
You can hear? Okay. So, good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure to be with you all. I'm thankful to the organizing committee for having me. So, today we will try to talk about some of the latest research as to how COVID causes infection. And we'll also try to see how using different aspects of yoga and meditation we can actually prevent COVID. So as you know, today in the world there are over 3 million patients with COVID, almost 3.5 million now. Over 250,000, almost 250,000 have died because of COVID. And we have around 1 million who have recovered from COVID. So today, till today, yesterday, in fact, for the first time, they came out with a medicine that actually works and can control infection in COVID called remdesivir. But the biggest problem is there are millions of people, for them, the only treatment is prevention. And prevention means staying locked down, staying in your home, staying, not going to work, and not going out in the streets. So the problem in this is that human beings are social animals. What do I mean by that? By that I mean that human beings tend to move around, meet with other people. That's the sort of people, society that human beings have developed over the past thousands of years. So when you lock these people up in their homes, there are different problems. Number one, there are mental problems. There's anxiety, there's depression, and some people even have panic attacks because of different reasons. One reason is obviously because because of the virus. They're scared that the virus might they might get infected. That's number one. But there are other problems also, and the other problems include things like people have lost jobs. There are hundreds and thousands of people who have lost jobs. So all this causes strain, causes stress, and affects mental state, causes psychological problems. Now, what we don't know, but now it is well defined in medicine, is all the psychological problems decreases your immunity and increases the chance of getting infection. So more you're depressed, more you're anxious, there's a more likelihood that you'll be infected by COVID. And to a large extent, you might actually have a very severe infection. And that is the reason why we need to find a way how we can stay healthy and prevent COVID in the first place. Now, COVID, as we all know, is a brand new virus. Human beings have never faced COVID before. And we still don't know whether it's a natural virus or there has been some bioengineering. But yesterday we came to know the reports in the US released said they have intelligence a report that the virus actually did not come from the Wuhan seafood, but actually was leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is a grade 4 virology institute in China. So Wuhan Institute of Virology is as I said, grade 4 virology institute, just like we have the National Institute of Virology in India, in Pune. And they have dangerous viruses. They have over 1,500 dangerous viruses. So for the last 2 to 3 years, there has been a lot of reports that they have not been able to maintain these viruses with appropriate standards. And because of that, maybe today this virus leaked out of the Virology Institute, infected first the people inside the institute, and then the whole world. And obviously, as you know, there has been some delay in all over the world knowing about this because Chinese authority kept it secret for almost a couple of months. So it spread all over the world, killing hundreds and thousands of people. Now let's take a little bit time to understand how human body reacts to something like this. So whenever you have an unknown virus or bacteria attacking you, the body has an immunity called the innate immunity or the basic immunity. The basic immunity gets activated. What it does is it releases different immunoglobulin like immunoglobulin IG, which covers all the layers of the body. For example, the mucosa, for example, the layers inside the lung, the layers inside the stomach, and prevents bacteria and virus from entering. Now, by chance, if the virus still manages to enter, then cells are recruited, which helps to catch the virus and kill it so that it cannot spread any further, it cannot do any infection. A large number of blood cells, a large number of chemicals are involved in this. This is called innate immunity. Now, we use innate immunity every day, every second of our life. Why? Because there are hundreds and thousands of viruses and bacteria attacking us at every minute. And the body has to protect against this, and it uses innate immunity to protect against this. Now, because COVID is a novel virus, body has not experienced this virus before, so body cannot produce immunity against these viruses. What it does is it deals with the virus in form of innate immunity. But once you get infected, once the body knows that it has an alien, and that's the virus, then it creates targeted antibodies against the virus. And that helps to kill the virus and reduce disease in many cases. You must be all hearing that there's a large amount of talk about something called the convalescent plasma. Convalescent plasma is nothing else but the antibodies taken out from patients who have suffered and got completely cured of COVID because of developing antibodies. Now, this whole process is not as easy as I am trying to as I'm telling. It is much more complex, but I'm trying to make it simple as possible so that we can understand how yoga and meditation can play a role in this. But there's one very important thing to understand. This is an extremely dangerous virus. When you have what is known as a normal flu, you get sick within 2-3 days. By 5 days, you are well. Whether you take any medicine or you don't take any medicine, you still get well within a couple of days. But this virus, even to get symptoms, takes between 2 to 14 days. Why? As I said, it's a very dangerous virus. After it enters the body, it suppresses the immune system. And then as it infects the lung, it starts capturing hundreds and thousands of lung cells and produce hundreds and thousands of its own type. It starts reproducing using body's mechanism, that is the body's cell. By the time the body recognizes that, it's too late. And at that time, body realizes that it has been taken over by an alien, dangerous virus of which it has got no control. So then the body hits back. Now this hitting back causes what we call as cytokine storms. Hundreds and thousands of chemicals are released inside the body. Hundreds and thousands of cells inside the body gets activated. The macrophages, the natural killer cells, and they go back to attack the virus. But what exactly happens is the virus dies suddenly, but the human body also dies. So it is like you have a mosquito biting you, you get a battle tank to kill the mosquito. Obviously, along with the mosquito, you will die because if the battle tank fires. That, unfortunately, is what happens in COVID. Nobody dies or has died till today because of COVID itself. They have all died because of their own body. So when COVID gets activated, when COVID infection gets activated, the body initially fails to recognize it. And when it does recognize it, it generates a huge number of chemicals called cytokines. Predominant among them is something called interleukin 6. And today we have 2 or 3 drugs that have been tested for interleukin 6. And this interleukin 6 further causes a cascade of reaction within the body that causes multi-organ damage. Your lungs are damaged, heart is damaged. So what we found for the first time is young people, 40 years of age, who have never had any heart disease, their heart swells up like a balloon. So just like you get a new balloon and you give it to a small baby, a small kid, small child, and he blows it, and then the balloon slowly expands into a huge balloon. That's what happens to the heart. It's become soft, big balloon. It's called myocarditis. People even had heart rupture and bleed by the side of the heart. So people who have moderate to severe COVID, now we know, do not die because of the lung problem alone. Most of them have severe heart problems because the virus and the immune system of their own body results in severe cardiac disease, which causes dangerous arrhythmias and kills people. Now let's go back and understand a little bit about the physiology of yoga, meditation, and how that affects. Now, as you all know that yoga or meditation in India, yoga includes meditation. Maybe 5 or 6% of yoga is posture or asanas, and the rest 85% is actually meditation. But in the West, unfortunately, that is not true. In West, people think of yoga means only physical exercise. They don't understand that meditation is part and parcel of yoga. There is actually 8 limbs of yoga, as all of you know. I'll not go into the details. And yoga predominantly has meditation. Now, what does yoga or meditation do? So in the last 10 to 15 years, there's been extensive research in the US by Americans who are not Indians, they are not Hindus. So as you know, in medical sciences, research has to be non-biased. If I do research today, people may say that I'm biased because I am a Hindu, I'm from India, I've been practicing yoga. But people who are physician scientists who are not from India, who are not Hindus, who know nothing about the Indian lifestyle, they have done research and showed how effective yoga and meditation is in changing our immunity. So just a practice of yoga for 4 weeks can increase your innate immunity tremendously and help you get a bunch of infection. I don't want to go into the specific details, but in basic terms, I can tell you. So the innate immunity, as I said, has chemicals that is released in different parts of the body that prevents the virus to enter. and that is called IgA, immunoglobulin A. The production of immunoglobulin A is increased multiple times if you practice yoga just for 4 weeks. After the virus actually enters or the bacteria enters, there is something called opsonization, which means body releases chemicals that attaches to the bacteria or the virus, and that chemicals enters big cells called the macrophages, and they gulp and kill those bacteria. All these processes are accentuated when you practice yoga. This has been proved by doing molecular studies. But other than that, what is more important is the anxiety and depression that you get, as I told you, and which causes decrease in immunity, is actually completely erased by the use of yoga. Why? How? So now we have functional MRIs, we have PET scan in the brain. So somebody who's tend to be anxious, somebody who tends to be depressed, just practice of meditation for 4 weeks, and we know this by using MRI and PET scan, can actually change the circuit of your brain from being anxiety prone, from being depression prone to a normal individual. So it's extremely powerful science which we just came to know because we did not have these techniques before to diagnose. So there was no way we could get inside a living human brain to find out what yoga meditation is doing. So the entire circuit in the brain is completely changed. So what do I mean by that? Suppose I have a glass of water. Based on my mentality, I can say that this glass is half full. But there are hundreds and thousands and millions of people in this world who are always negative. They will say, oh, this glass is almost empty. Now, the truth is both of them are true. But a positive mind, if my brain is fixed in such a way that the neurons which constitute my brain fires in such a way that I'm always positive, that's what I will be. But if I'm always negative, then I will always be anxious and always be depressed. So just 4 weeks of practice can actually change your brain function and make you more positive and reduce depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. Now let's go to the other aspect of immunity, which I said is the adaptive or the second immunity. Now, once the virus attacks you and you get fever, you get symptoms, the body creates specific immunity against the virus. And this immunity production is also increased in patients with um, uh, with the practice of yoga and meditation. Now, if your immunity is not enough, as you know, you tend to get different problems. In fact, a large number of them can even die because of a severe cytokine problem. So what is the cytokine problem? So once your immunity body realizes that it has been infected by this virus, it releases hundreds of chemicals like interleukin 6. So there's been a large number of studies in 2014 and 2017 where it was shown that yoga and meditation can actually prevent the release of interleukin 6. So today we are trying to find out drugs which can act and prevent interleukin 6, but we already have medicines for last 10,000 years. This practice of yoga has shown us that we can actually decrease the release of interleukins. And there's not one, there's multiple studies, and all of you who may be interested, I'll be more than happy to provide you with actual research that interleukin 6 release is decreased in COVID. So in short, during the lockdown, if you practice yoga on a regular basis, number one, the chance of you getting infected will decrease. And that, as I said, is scientific. Number two is the chance of you, even if you get COVID, the chance of you going into severe COVID requiring hospitalization, ventilators, and then finally dying is way reduced because every step of immunity is increased, every step of immunity is modified by yoga and meditation to make it not only more powerful, but the things which are more powerful already and actually kills human being like interleukin 6, as I said, Virus doesn't kill anybody. Virus has not killed even a single person. What kills is your own body's reaction to the virus. That can be appropriately prevented. I will not take much time, but I just want to point out that now we know the genetic basis of this. There are over 300 genes that is activated when you're in stress. And all these genes, what they does is they decrease your body's immunity. They cause release of chemicals inside the body that causes heart attack. There are release of chemicals inside the body that causes swelling of the heart, chemicals inside the body that cause damages to the brain. So it's your own body producing all these chemicals. Don't forget that. And we can prevent each and every one of them through regular practice of yoga and meditation. Even if you're a newcomer starting for the first time, just 3 to 4 weeks of practice can make this revolutionary changes inside your body, as proved by medical research. So these genes, as I said, over 300 genes get activated in stress, and each of them are more harmful to the body than others. But in people who are meditators, who have meditated for many years, like sadhus or people who follow the normal dinacharya, does regular right food, regular practice of meditation, they have successfully been shown that the whole pathway is not activated at all. So your own body is responsible for a lot of things that ultimately causes death, especially in these sort of infection, and also in some diseases called the rheumatological diseases. And that's where yoga and meditation can play a big role. So I think I'll stop now. People have been asking questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer some of the questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Any participants want to ask any question? May I ask? If any participants want to ask any question. I think there is no question, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Very nicely you share your views. Very nicely you cleared the role of the virus and the body cell, how our body react to the virus, and the role of the body, and the most important role of the yoga to dealing with this virus, and how our immune system can be built up strong by the yoga and meditation. On behalf of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, and organizing committee, very thankful to you, sir, for sharing your views and thoughts with us and our participants. Very, very thankful, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So now we have our Honorable Vice Chancellor with us, Professor T.N. Singh. I request to our VC, sir, please. I want to request to share your views, sir, for today's session. Respected Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor T.N. Singh. Can you hear me, sir? VC, sir, can you hear me? Pandit ji, please check कीजिए. इस बीच में आज हमारे जो सेशंस रहे हैं उन सेशंस के बारे में शॉर्ट में डिस्कस करता हूं. सबसे पहले हमारे साथ 2 o'clock डॉक्टर विवेक कुमार सहल जी रहे, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर गवर्नमेंट RBTS होम्योपैथी मेडिकल कॉलेज एंड हॉस्पिटल मुजफ्फरपुर. आपने हम लोगों के साथ टॉपिक डिस्कस किया होम्योपैथी एंड इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच टू कॉम्बैट COVID-19. एंड द सेकंड स्पीकर इज योगाचार्य राजीव कुमार, फाउंडर Agnihotra Mission India, Agnihotra and its effectiveness in the prevention of viral and bacterial disease. The next speaker is Dr. Sushil Chandra, Associate Director, Institutes of Nuclear Medicine and Allied Science, DRDO, New Delhi, and he discussed about the music and meditation curing disease in COVID-19 pandemic. The next speaker is Professor Ishwar Bhardwaj, Dean of Health Science, Gurukul Kangri University, Haridwar, and he discussed about psychological effect of COVID-19 and its management through yoga. The next speaker is Dr. Risha Chopra, officiating head, Department of Contemplating and Behavioral Science, Sri Sri University, Cuttack, Odisha, and she discussed about contemplative practices for psychological well-being. The next speaker, Professor Sanjay Pokhriyal, Dean, Institutes of Ayurveda, Nepal, Sanskrit University, role of Ayurveda in COVID-19. And just now, we heard Dr. Indraneel Bashure, MD, FACC cardiologist and cardiac electrophysiologist, and adjunct professor of public health, the University of Memphis, USA, visiting professor AIMS Rishikesh, and he discussed about immunological changes in COVID and the heart, role of yoga in prevention of infection and cytokine storm. So I request again, respected BC sir, if you are able to hear me. Pandey ji, सफला जी, आप हमें सुन पा रहे हैं?
जी हाँ, जी हाँ।
ओके ओके, आई थिंक यहाँ पर कनेक्टिविटी प्रॉब्लम है। पांडे जी के साथ में भी उनका भी नेटवर्क लो शो कर रहा है और बीसी सर से भी हमारा संपर्क नहीं हो पा रहा है। तो
कल के प्रोग्राम्स बता के आप कंक्लूड कर सकते हैं।
ओके, तो कल जो हमारा नेक्स्ट सेशन जो है, हमारा सेशन होगा वो 2 बजे से स्टार्ट होगा और सबसे पहले हमारे साथ 2 बजे हमारे साथ होंगी डॉक्टर नीरजा पांडे, रिहेबिलिटेशन साइकोलॉजिस्ट, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर, अमेठी इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ बिहेवियरल एंड अलाइड साइंस, अमेठी यूनिवर्सिटी, लखनऊ कैंपस, एंड शी डिस्कस अबाउट rehabilitation of cured COVID-19 patients. The next speaker, Professor B.R. Sharma, HOD of Yoga and Dean of Faculty of Health and Wellbeing, Sri Sri University, Cuttack, Odisha. The next, and he will discuss about COVID-19 trauma and its management in the light of Patanjali. The next speaker is Professor S.Z.H. Zaidi, Director, Amethi Institute of Behavioral and Allied Science, Amethi University, Lucknow campus, and he discussed about adjustment support during COVID-19 and beyond. And the next speaker is Dr. Santosh Kumar Yadav, President, Australian Association of Ayurveda, Melbourne, Australia, and he will discuss about Ayurvedic clinical management of COVID-19.
मुकेश जी सुन पा रहे हैं? Can we end the session? मुकेश
हाँ, एक मिनट सर।
ओके ओके।
हाँ, कल 10 से 12 मिनट देखते हैं, आया तो है। हेलो हेलो,
हाँ, आपकी
हेलो,
आवाज सुनाई दे रही है।
मुकेश जी,
पांडे जी आवाज सुनाई दे रही
जी।
हाँ पांडे जी, आपकी आवाज सुनाई दे रही है।
तो
कल के सेशन
आज के जो है हमारे जितने भी स्पीकर्स थे, सभी स्पीकर्स को बहुत बहुत आभार उनके प्रति प्रकट करते हुए, और अभी हम लोगों के जो सबसे अंतिम वक्ता के रूप में हमारे बीच आए थे प्रोफेसर इंद्रनील बसूरे, उनके प्रति बहुत आभार प्रकट करते हुए, और कल जो है हम लोगों ने थोड़ा कार्यक्रम को रीशेड्यूल किया है कि पहले कल जितने भी सेशन या पूर्व में जितने भी सेशन जो है किसी टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम के चलते नहीं हो पाए हैं, तो उसके लिए हम लोगों ने जैसे कुछ पार्टिसिपेंट का रिक्वेस्ट आया था एनजे रेड्डी के बारे में, और वो एनआईएन की डायरेक्टर के बारे में, और वो नीम रथ के बारे में, तो हमने कल 10 से 12 2 घंटे का एक सेशन प्लान किया है, जिसमें ये जो भी हमारे रेस्ट रह गए हैं स्पीकर्स, जो अच्छे स्पीकर्स हैं और जिनको हम लोग नहीं सुन पाए किसी टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम के कारण, तो वो ये कल हमारे साथ 10 से 12 रहेंगे। तो आप लोगों से आग्रह होगा कि आप लोग जो है कल ज्वाइन करें, और उसका जो है मतलब जो जिन चीज़ों से हम वंचित रह गए हैं, जो लाभ हम नहीं कल के सेशंस में ले पाए हैं, तो उनका हम ले पाएंगे। और आज के हमारे डॉक्टर सैल, डॉक्टर राजीव, प्रोफेसर ईश्वर भारद्वाज, डॉक्टर पोखारेल और डॉक्टर नील बसु रे, डॉक्टर ऋचा चोपड़ा, सभी के प्रति हम आयोजन समिति के तरफ से बहुत आभार प्रकट करते हैं। महात्मा गांधी काशी विद्यापीठ की तरफ से, आयुर्वेद संकाय आईएमएस बीएचयू की तरफ से बहुत आभार प्रकट करते हैं, और सभी प्रतिभागियों के प्रति भी आभार प्रकट करते हुए आज हम लोग इस सेशन को यहीं ओवर करते हैं। कल 10 से 12 और कल हमारा सेशन 2 से 5:30, 2 से 4 जो है हमारे सेशन चलेंगे, और 4 से 5:30 हमारा वैलिडिक्टी फंक्शन होगा, जिसमें हमारे वैलिडिक्टी फंक्शन के चीफ गेस्ट जो है परम पूज्य स्वामी चिदानंद मुनि जी, जो परमाध्यक्ष हैं परमार्थ निकेतन ऋषिकेश के, वो होंगे, और साध्वी भगवती जी जो ऑस्ट्रेलिया की हैं, वो हमारी गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर होंगी। तो इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ आप लोगों को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देते हुए, और मुकेश जी, दुर्गेश जी, आप लोगों को भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देते हुए हम लोग आज यही कार्यक्रम को संपन्न करते हैं। नमस्कार।
सर सेशन एंड कर दिया जाए।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद
हाँ,
सर।
हाँ,
हाँ, सेशन एंड कर दिया जाए। धन्यवाद।